We want the people to be more aware, the driver to be more aware of the environment. So using technology like we do, like Jake is doing, that provides that information back into the car. But the opposite is also important from the worker safety perspective, because if something happened, if a car breached into the work zone, if the bulldozer is backing up on the worker, technology like Dave is doing is really important to improve safety. So all of us, we're working toward that safety goal to make roads safer and workers safer than what they are today.
Roadway safety concerns us all, and the fatality numbers are staggering. In 2020, in the U.S., there were 100,000 estimated work zone crashes, 44,000 work zone injuries, and 857 total work zone fatalities, according to the data available to the workzonesafety.org. Motorist intrusion into the work zone is a large concern for many of the LHSFNA members. There are about 125 workers killed by motorist intrusions each year. And in light of the $550 billion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, steps will be taken now to try to rein in this issue. Today, we are going to discuss emerging digital alerting technology and onboard navigation systems. Digital alerting technology generally uses sensors attached or linked to roadway equipment like roadway arrow and message boards. When the equipment is turned on, the signal is pushed to the DOT's work zone data exchange and other cloud networks. The data is picked up by digital alerting apps and onboard navigation systems. The apps and the navigation systems then warn drivers of upcoming work zones. Some apps like Waze also employ crowdsourcing to identify other road hazards like debris, stalled cars, police, and that are not connected to the network. But these systems are not always connected to the network. Studies have shown that digital alerting systems are effective in refocusing distracted drivers to the road. When given the right information, cell phones and onboard navigation systems can be used to deliver advanced warnings to drivers about what's on the road ahead. Protecting roadway workers is a new territory for most digital alerting technology vendors, and much of this technology is new and emerging. Many of the vendors in the digital alerting space are not even aware to the extent that workers and work zone hazards are on the road. Today, we have two emerging alerting digital companies discussing digital alerting and worker safety. We're going to start with Jake Sigal of Tome Software and B2V. Since 2015, Tome has been working on various projects within a larger program related to open and collaborative bicycle to vehicle safety. Tome has engaged in multiple companies from the cycling, automotive, and smart city industries in order to find solutions to create communication between vulnerable road users and vehicles. Today, Jake Sigal will discuss B2V automotive solutions for vulnerable road users. Welcome, Jake.
Thanks for having me, Walter, and I'm happy to be on the show. This is really cool to be having this conversation, and as you mentioned, very timely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'd like for you to tell us what you got going on, man, and let us know what's happening here with your product. I found it very interesting, something new, not quite the roadway safety thing, but I still think it's something we find interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So first of all, like I should tell everyone I'm based in Detroit, so Motor City, and we plan on keeping it Motor City and the center of all things mobility. Prior to starting up Tome Software, we had a company that was acquired by Ford Motor Company, and in my last career, it was working on within the car connectivity. So how you plug your iPhone in your car, your Android phone in your car, and access the favorite apps you love, whether those are music or navigation apps. Fast forward into where we were like mid 2015, 2016, the conversation shifted to how the vehicle and the people inside the vehicle will be communicating with other vehicles and be communicating with infrastructure. So there were some early in this. Obviously, we have the infrastructure bill now, and we're very excited about some of the opportunities that the Federal Highway and NHTSA are going to be supporting. But even before then, there was a lot of great research, a lot of great proof of concepts. Columbus, Ohio, just south of us here in Detroit. Which unfortunately many of my engineers try to pretend like the city of Columbus, where I'm ironically from of all places, doesn't exist, but for college reasons. But be that as it may, we're excited about that work that happened in Columbus, and there's been a number of automotive companies. And the biggest thing we found, Walter, is that this is not about Tome's work or Ford's work or GM, one of our partners' work, or Nissan, one of our partners. This is about pre-competitive technology. It's about all of us working together, because any one technology that would be used to keep people on the roadway safe, whether it's a construction worker, a bicyclist, a scooter rider, a disabled motorist, and I think any of these use cases, it's not going to work where it's one proprietary solution working with one car company. It's not like Trek works with Ford and then Specialized Bikes or Bosch e-bikes work with GM. That would never work. It's got to be something that as ubiquitous as a USB jack on a computer. And I love that reference, because for those of us that are my age and older, remember that USB, when you used to plug in your printer, you had to download drivers and there were different connectors, and now USB just works. So our mission and our main purpose here is to create safer roads for everyone. But in order to do that, we need to have pre-competitive work. And last thing I'll mention, and happy to get into some discussion here, Walter, and the rest of our panelists for today, but the thing for us was around getting that general consensus and getting support from a number of car companies, tier one automotive suppliers, bike suppliers, e-bike suppliers, scooter suppliers, construction work suppliers, so that we all can agree on what would be our common quote unquote USB-like technology for it to work. And this is a journey we started about 6 years ago, and I'm really proud of the where we're at today with SAE, which formerly was Society of Automotive Engineers, but standards around how these messages get sent back and forth. And I hope the Workzone Data Exchange comes up on today's conversation as well, because we're really excited about that data, standard data for transmitting, like you said before, ways like what's going on, so that drivers can know. Because ultimately, it's going to be up to the car companies on what to do with the message. Are they going to slam on the brakes? Are they going to inform the driver, or just be aware? Are they going to dynamically reduce the speed? Car companies decide that. Bike companies decide what's going on the bikes. But there has to be this commonality, this USB standard, if you will, for how everyone's going to communicate with the same language on the same radio frequency and make roads safer. So that's what we've been up to. And I love every minute of it.
You already brought up a couple of topics I hadn't thought about, but yeah, the idea that the car company deciding to slow the car down, or by extension, your insurance, car insurance company slowing the car down. You know what I mean? So thoughts I hadn't even thought about until this conversation. So exactly what goes on with your product? If I'm riding a bike, what happens?
So to be clear, our products and services are all around the software that goes into vehicles and into bike and scooter companies. So you're not going to go on Amazon and buy a Tome widget that you bolt onto your bike or bolt onto your car. Okay. What we're doing is working on the software and the communications, so that an Android phone, Trek showed off a bicycle light that would flash, which is great for, we like to call analog and digital is how we refer to it, or traditional analog and digital. So not every vehicle is going to have a connectivity solution. You can't expect every bicyclist in the world to open up an app on their phone and broadcast. For many people, that's not tenable, or you have battery life issues. And we also want to make sure that we're not putting technology on a construction worker that's going to enable some sort of a tracking mechanism for punching a time clock. I mean, that's not the intent of safety. Our mission is safety and safety only, and privacy and security are really important there. So our products, to get to the point here, is the software that's enabling it. Like, almost think of us like creating the dictionary. Right. So, and we're not starting from scratch, by the way. We're starting from the work the auto company's done for decades, and the U.S. federal government supported for decades as well. But just bringing it to a little bit more modern times, we're really excited about work on 5G using cellular vehicle technology called C-V2X. And I'll give you some links that you can post up in the description for those of us, anyone of the listeners listening, to check out some of the links and videos on the topic. But it's really the software that enables an app on your phone. So what this means for a user, on the business side, this means there's products and services that we offer your business, so your business can become connected. On the consumer side, this is buried. It's something that's just going to pop up in your car, or it's something that's going to be included in part of a bicycle or scooter that you're going to go buy at your local bike shop. Or if you're renting a scooter in a city, an e-scooter, or whether it's for example, a Lyft as part of our SAE consortium, you would have a Lyft scooter. It would just be built in so that vehicles would be able to see around corners and digitally to know what's around you.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to introduce now Serge, who I ran into at one of the Work Zone Data Exchange work groups, and he interviewed me because I'm not a data guy. I'm an industrial hygienist, a safety and health professional. And as I was mentioning, we have a lot of workers being killed on the roads. And, we could deal with the work zone, but the public, we're looking at trying to change a culture. And I was suggesting ideas where we encourage the use of navigation systems, and then the navigation systems alerting the driver that there's a worker ahead. And then Serge contacted me and said he might have a product along those lines. Vermac is a leading manufacturer of mobile electronic traffic control equipment, lighting, and security equipment. They offer connected solutions for smart work zones and fleet management. Vermac designs and develops state-of-the-art technology solutions. For example, Vermac's JamLogic smart work zone software monitors data from portable sensors and other devices and then automates the messages on message signs to provide the motoring public with real-time travel information. Today, Serge will discuss that and some of their worker presence solutions. Welcome, Serge. Jump in here. Tell me what you guys are doing.
So, as you mentioned, thanks, Walter, for the invitation. First, I'm very glad to be here. As you mentioned, Vermac is a leader into I would say digital alert for a long time. We're making VMS, portable message signs. So those signs on the side of the road that inform you about upcoming work zone. So those are a type of digital alerts using previous type of equipment. So we're doing that for over 30 years. We're using those kind of equipment for to detect and warn user about or driver about slow condition, stop condition that are ahead of them. So that's what we used to do for almost 15, 20, even 30 years now. So as this is part of our DNA to be on the digital alerting, to develop the components, develop software that will increase the safety of drivers and workers. So our latest invention, I would quote, is to provide a way to tell where are active work zone, where are the workers. So that way the driver in their car can be alerted using Waze technology, can be alerted using the onboard screen. Then they're entering a work zone where workers are present. If you may, let me show you a slide.
Here, I'll let you take the screen. Let me see if I do this right. It's all yours.
So that's an example of a typical work zone. So a typical work zone where we have a lane closure that we see over here, and into that lane closure, we have workers over there. So what we're showing here is a lot of technology that we made where we can identify the start and the end of the work zone. We have technology that we can dynamically change the speed of the road. So in this example, and that's pretty much something we did live in Michigan with the help of MDOT, so Michigan DOT and GM, where we have a stretch of road, long stretch of road, where the road was a 70 miles per hour road. And at the entry of the work zone, we were decreasing the speed at 60 miles per hour. Then we had a narrow board that was doing a lane closure. And down within that 5 mile stretch of work, they have a special 1 mile portion where they have actually workers working. So in that specific case, we were even reducing the speed just before the workers to 45. And we know by statistic then if the speed are lower, at the end, it's a safer environment because cars are going to a slower speed. So, and after the workers, the speed was going back to 60 miles per hour. So that was from a technical perspective. The beauty of that is instead of just having those sign and arrow board and people are used, and we know now that people are distracted because they're talking on the phone or they text, they should not, but some are doing that, or they're just thinking about what they did the day before. So people are distracted. That's a fact. So now with more technology-oriented digital alert, what we do is we broadcast that information up to inside the car. So what we did in Michigan is that information, the change of the speed, getting into a work zone, the change of the lane, the presence of workers were digitally shown in the car. So let me go, I'll jump one slide here. Let me go to this one. So that's an example of inside the car into a GM. It was a prototype that GM modified the Tahoe that they have. And you can see here that on the screen of that car, they were able to show the lane closure, to show the speed, the reduced speed, the workers, and even present message like worker present. So that's an actual demonstration we did using our technology. The same information can also be relayed to Waze. A lot of people are using Waze to plan their travel. So that's an example. In Waze, they can have the same type of information to tell them, hey, they have a driver, they have a workers in about half a mile from you. You need to reduce your speed, type of thing. So that's what we do.
Well, Serge, I hate to cut you off, but I've never seen Waze mention workers. I could be wrong. I've seen them mention, there's a box up ahead, but I've never seen them say worker. I've seen them say work zone, car, cop, but I've never seen worker.
Yeah. And you are right. Per se, when you are in Waze, they have a limited set of things you can broadcast. What we can do, though, if you look, it's pretty small on my screen, but the Waze screen here, that is a smartphone typical app, the Waze will typically tell you, hey, you have a construction activity going out in 900 feet from you. But what we can do at Vermac, we are able to provide more details. So if you look, it's pretty small. They have a small blue text over there. Mm-hmm. That blue text says work zone speed limit is now 50 miles per hour. We are able to tell workers are present also into that blue text. That blue text we control at Vermac. We can put whatever we want into that blue text.
Okay.
So today it's a limitation of Waze. And I think it's going forward. It's people like you and the industry that should ask Waze, hey, Mr. Waze, when we would like you to tell us in the car that we are approaching workers' environment and not just trash on the road or debris like they do today. They put more emphasis to inform you about debris than workers. So I think it's by asking them, then hopefully they will. Provide you audible alert.
I tried to get them on this podcast, but still haven't heard back from them. That's excellent idea. So does your feed work with other systems?
Yeah. What we did is I'm still one of the co-chair on Work Zone Data Exchange. I've been on 3 cycles for over 2 years from now. So I've been on specification subgroup. I've been co-chair for the worker presence for 3 cycles. So all our data is using Work Zone Data Exchange as the transmission mechanism. So in the case I showed you, with GM, our equipment were collecting the information live. So we had something on the workers that were broadcasting that we had workers in the work zone. Our backend system was receiving that, and right there was broadcasting that out to MDOT, to Michigan DOT, using Work Zone Data Exchange. Michigan DOT was injecting a few more data because Work Zone Data Exchange is a really broad protocol with a lot of potential data. And that data was sent out, was published out to GM. And GM from the car was looking at that data and say, oh, I'm approaching a work zone where I have worker present, and then here on the screen, worker present element that was displayed. So it's all using open standard, and that's the beauty of that. We use that to pilot to prove out that work zone data exchange standard is able to do that kind of digital alert by per itself.
That's pretty awesome. Two quick questions. Can your sensors talk to your message board and inform your message boards like of worker presence as well? So you know what I mean? Or is that just a equipment issue more than anything?
No. In fact, all those automation are possible. What we did for the demonstration in Michigan is I showed you the speed. The speed of that work zone was 60 miles per hour. And I said then just before the workers, that speed was reduced to 45. So what was happening is because when we were detecting workers present, we were changing the speed on that DSL. And that speed, that sign is a small message board by itself. So yeah, technically it's possible to even take a big, large sign. And instead of telling work zone ahead, it could be workers ahead when workers are present. So
that's a couple of questions here because we understand that you can't change speed limits on road more than 10 drop it more than 10 miles per hour without creating additional hazards.
Yeah.
And yet some of us still prefer 45 when workers are present. And myself, who drive through like you and the rest of my folks here drive through work zones all the time, and we have a different attitude going through a work zone where it's just equipment than we have when we know workers are present. It's not hard to get folks to get down to 55, 45 when they know workers are present. But if they don't think workers are present, we might take some chances. And that's why these types of technology are important, I believe, at least. So I like the idea that you have a message board, even if it doesn't say workers are present, the speed limit goes down to 45, and there's a cultural connection there that we need to promote for our drivers.
Correctly. And if you go to in Michigan, what they do today, they just have a regular board, so aluminum sign that are there, and they say if worker presents speed limit 45. So it's to the driver to figure out, okay, is any workers somewhere? And then they have to adjust themselves and figure out everything by themselves. So with digital alert, the beauty of that is that information could be on message sign, could be on Waze, could be in the car. So they have no blurry zone for the driver. It will be, okay, you're getting as a worker present, adapt your driving to that
That's
situation.
awesome. And you may not believe, but 15 years ago, when Michigan was raising their speed limits, that was our concern. And I remember testifying and having coming up with a solution that, how about, okay, I understand the 10 mile per hour drop greater creates a bigger hazard. How about if we added this worker presence thing? And they kind of agreed, which is unusual for my job. We're always having to fight, but they kind of agreed, and I'm pleased to hear how far they've gone with this 15 years later. Serge, please hang on. Do you got Jake or Dave? Welcome, Dave. Do you have any questions for Serge?
No, I can relate to Jake. I'm also a Buckeye who's got an office in Detroit. So, we know what that's like every day, I think. I think what Serge and Jake are doing are very, very good ideas, and there's a lot of possibilities. I'm with Rombit. Rombit is a little different. We are a worker wearable solution. So we have...
here, let me give you a quick plug before you go ahead here.
Okay.
Rombit, I had spoke to a few weeks ago, and they're proximity devices, as I understand them. And, they're excellent for warehouses and work sites and of dealing with the whole idea of restricted areas and access areas. And being aware of who's where they're supposed to be. Rombit Plug and Play IT Solutions helps improve worker safety by connecting their technologies with external systems to increase real-time situational awareness. They employ simple notifications to avoid serious accidents in real time. The solutions they provide you with are analytics you need to improve worker safety procedures in the long term. Rombit's geofence solution is really what I'm kind of interested in and would like for him to discuss, Dave to discuss today. It's a feature that allows predefining a work area that needs to be controlled and provides real-time insight into authorized and unauthorized access into restricted areas. Rombit allows the creation of geofences around a specific area or section of your site and real-time alerts of intrusions, as well as I understand it, digital alerting to vehicles and digital application systems of worker presence. Dave, jump in.
Okay, so thank you, Walter. You did a great job on that. And I just put a picture up there to give you an idea of the device. You can see what it looks like. If somebody's holding it to get the size. The device is designed to be able to provide GPS location for individuals. It's a location awareness solution that allows you to determine if an individual has entered a specific area. GPS is one form of that location capability. We also use ultra wideband. Ultra wideband gives us the ability to do very finite measurements. So with ultra wideband, along with the GPS activity, we can also determine things like collision avoidance around construction equipment, bulldozers, earth movers, fork trucks, golf carts, pickup trucks, allowing both the driver to know that somebody's in their proximity, as well as the individual to be alerted that somebody's in proximity, because it's not only the cars on the road that can create a problem, it's also the construction equipment moving around that can be an issue. So it's a combination of devices, and we believe that by knowing where the people are at, it allows those people like Serge to identify where the individuals are located and send that information to the appropriate sources, whether it be Waze, car manufacturers, or whatever. So that's where the Rombit technology falls into the equation.
Oh, awesome. Now, does your technology talk to other systems like Waze or GM onboarding or Chrysler's onboarding or the Jake's signal?
We haven't done any of that today. However, our technology communicates via standard cellular networks.
Okay.
So we use the standard cellular carriers, and we're authorized on the major cellular carriers in North America.
So if I had a project
and that information, that information goes to the cloud, and from that cloud application, it's extremely easy to extract it. So anyone that would like access to that information, whether it be a Waze, whether we could do a push or a pull notification. So the technology is all there. We just haven't had the request to integrate it.
All right. So let me just cut to the chase. Let's say I created a 50-yard work zone on the side of a highway, a restricted area using your Rombit system. And I had a worker inside that system. Now, when a car breaks into that area, I know we can alert the employer that there's a car in that area, but how can we talk to the car to let them know that there's a worker in the area?
Theoretically, that's all possible, but I would look to people that are really focused on that, such as Jake and Serge, to provide that communication. However, what we do is we send a message to the cloud that an individual has entered that work zone. We can also send a message if they leave the work zone. And we can define that work zone as being a very fine line or a GPS position, fine line being done with ultra wideband, GPS being a little bigger. And then once that information is in the cloud application, it's very, like I said, anybody can extract it and send it to the driver.
Yeah, that's perfect. Serge, I got a question for you. Now, when you were doing this mock-up, because I assume you're not public yet, how did you know whether there were GM cars? Well, I know you're in Michigan, so there's probably going to be nothing but GM cars. But how did you know whether there were just GM cars on the road and or that were listening to your device, or was this actually talking to all the cars on the road? Or help me out.
Yeah, the pilot itself has been done as a partnership between GM, RSL at Vermac, and Michigan DOT. So it was even if it was on the real construction site on a real road, it was a closed environment, so prototyping environment. So that was for that pilot itself. In reality, because we talk work zone data exchange, because we can publish using that standard is open to everybody. So Stellantis, GM, BMW, whoever can tap and collect that information, publish that way, and do whatever they want with it. So from that point, it's up to the Stellantis, the GM, the whoever to collect the information, receive it, and do something meaningful with that. GM decided to put that on their screen as alert. Somebody else could decide, hey, if I'm getting with the person that is driving above the limit into a work zone where I have workers, maybe I should shake the seat. Maybe I should shake the wheel to make that person more aware. So at that point, it's really to each OE to define what they want to do. But the information is published into a standard way.
Okay, similar to what they do when I change lane or go to move a lane without hitting the turn signal, my wheel lets me know, don't do it. That
might be a feature that these people might develop in the future. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Now, have you done any studies on hard braking when these devices are used, or speed decreases?
Not there. The closest we have to that is we have some study that compare a regular speed sign that reduces speed versus dynamic speed sign, like the one I showed you in my example. That studies has been done, independent study that proved that the compliancy to respect the speed is much higher if it's a digital sign versus an aluminum sign. People are those aluminum signs exist for almost a century now. So though people don't see them anymore,
right.
When they have something digital, so far people still react and conform more to those. But the specific to, are the people comply more when they receive Waze alert? Do they comply more when they get alert in the car? That still, we all think then the answer will be yes, but still need to be proof we're using some technology. Now, I'm not aware.
I am amazed at Waze. The things that they report on the road, and then it's there, is just utterly baffling to me. There's nobody on the road, and yet someone saw that a box just fell out of some. It's utterly, the crowdsourcing power is frightening, actually, to be honest with you. Sorry, this is where I'm at, guys, and help me out with this idea. I have this idea that if we partner with, let's just say, some big Michigan DOT or Caltrans in California or New York State DOT on a 100-mile, 10-mile stretch of highway where we use devices like yours, Serge, or yours, Dave, or a software product that Jake could turn us on to, and you got a crew of workers, 7 to 8 workers, one of them has this device on them. So it's not a privacy issue so much. And that device will denote there's a crew of workers in this general 10 to 20 foot area working on whatever, paving or cleaning up or whatever. Now, if we, and this is just general ideas, if we outfit it, working with a contractor, right? And there are many contractors that has 100 miles of stretch. we outfit 10, 20 of these crews with these devices so that they can now alert. We use our resources to make the public aware of the fact that we want you to use your driver navigation system, whether it's your onboard system with your car, or it's a Waze, Apple, Google system on your general travels, just to protect yourself, decrease the likelihood of you running into something in a work zone, and most importantly, protect the workers that might be in a work zone. So we encourage a cultural change of folks just keeping their driver navigation systems running. We work with a particular contractor that outfits these devices over a 10, 20, whatever mile stretch. And then work with a local university, Cal, Berkeley, UIC, Harvard. There's a bunch. Georgetown is another group that wants to do these types of things. That they get out there with some of their interns and their students. They check hard braking, crashes, speed drops, yada, 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 that we work with, as you're saying, Serge, getting the equipment to talk to one another, workers here, now workers gone. So the speed limits are able to go up and down, reflecting real-time action. What, am I dreaming, gentlemen?
No, no. And that's going to be a reality in the upcoming, I would say, months.
Months.
Let's say within a year.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a project like that going now, but yeah, months. Wow. Yeah,
I think there's pieces that are available today. Okay. For example, the location activity on the workers for the construction, that's available today. Sending the information, Serge, I would think that you could extract our APIs and send that information. Right. I mean, I would think you could get it done in days, and it just depends how you define it.
Well, and everyone talks about funding, but as I understand, the infrastructure bill and the parts that at least we lobbied to promote, there's already in existence a safety contingency funding, and basically what safety contingency funding is when you get on a project and you're over, because all bids are low bids, but you get on a project, realize you need more safety equipment, whether it's cones, truck mounted attenuators, positive protection barriers. You get to, instead of getting a change order with the owner, which you got to negotiate, right? Change order. So you may need to spend another $10 million, and the owner's like, well, we'll give you $2 million. And then you make the rest work. And that's the safety contingency fund, and that this is something that's typical for a project of this size. That's automatically reimbursed, and it doesn't come out the owner's pocket because it's a funding. And they're in the infrastructure bill, there's over $50 million worth of safety contingency funding. And what we fought for in the passes of the BIL, that it's called, is the use of technology to be able to increase safety for roadway users, specifically vulnerable road users. It's not clear to me yet how they're going to define that whole VRU, vulnerable road user angle, but it's clearly in the bill, and 3 to 5% of every project has it. That's the safety contingency fund for each project. So you figure out the project, you multiply by 3 to 5%, and there's a safety contingency of funding available for that project. And all you got to do is just work at your DOT office on how to get at that money. So my job here as a siren, I would like to believe, is to start yelling from the mountains that let's get some of this stuff going. Because normally I'm down the street at Congress lobbying for regulation and legislation, and it's old news. What I want to do now is look at cultural changes, which are faster and more welcoming than forcing employers to, comply with regulations that they're going to resist all along the way. So that's the main reason of this podcast, gentlemen, more than anything, is to get the word out on what the fantastic work you guys are doing. Serge, how different is what you're doing from what Haas is doing? Are you familiar with Haas Alerting?
Yeah, I know. I know them really, really well. Haas Alert is really good. In fact, they do that job for everything that is first responder type of alert.
Okay.
So that from the ambulance, a fire truck, to the tow truck that is doing that first responding job to remove that disabled car. So, and that's exactly what they do. They have hardware, they detect that event, those vehicle, and then they send alert up to the car, like they have partnership with
Oh, so instead of a worker, they're saying there's an EMT, there's a fire truck.
Exactly. So it's pretty much so what we do is pretty much the same, but from the work zone perspective,
right,
versus they're doing really a good job from the other side, from the first responder. But at the end, technology wise, it's pretty similar.
All right. Well, I think I've beat this horse pretty good. I'm going to try to tie it up all here. Dave, you want to jump in and let us know your final thoughts?
I think anything that saves lives is something that needs focus. And if we can save lives, we need to move quickly. We need to consider what we can do to eliminate as much red tape, make it as simple as possible. And if we can establish a crawl, walk, run strategy where maybe we don't do everything at the beginning, but we do some things, then we at least know we're moving in the right direction. Technology, everybody's technology is deployable today at some stage. Serge has already done trials with the Michigan Department of Transportation. Jake and I are both in Michigan, so that makes it easy. Jake, I'm not sure what trials you've got out there or what your status is, but from our standpoint, all our technology that I talked about is deployable and in use today. So it's all I got to do is pull it out of the warehouse.
All right, good enough. Jay, what do you got to say for us in closing?
Well, again, thank you for hosting, and I want to thank all the listeners for their time. This is an important topic. I want to agree on that this type of technology has got to be pretty competitive, and it's got to be the sort of thing that's not worker tracking, and it's got to go across all vehicles, across all physical products. Serge touched on something really important, is that and Walter, you mentioned this as well, is about in a vehicle, you could have something that's on the vehicle screen or on your phone, or if you don't have a phone or use your phone in your car, which in a lot of cases you shouldn't be using your phone in your car, that you have a sign outside of the vehicle for analog drivers. So I feel that that's a really important point. I also want to put a plug in. We host a monthly newsletter called The Bike Lane, where we talk about a lot of these types of topics, more on the lens of the micromobility. So other vulnerable road users like bike, e-scooter, even kids walking to school. So you can check that out at tomesoftware.com or The Bike Lane. You can also subscribe and like and Spotify or iTunes for that show. And we're really excited about that support that we have. Last thing I'll say is, you mentioned you were thinking about doing a pilot. Let's just do that in Michigan. I mean, that's the right place. And you started talking about these universities. I'm like, let's go to the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. They'd love to have you. And I know my buddy there, Eric Wingfield, would love to have that conversation. So,
all right, let's do it, because I know contractors that are interested. I'll be in touch.
We're happy to help. And again, we appreciate this. And I love the work that you guys are doing, Dave and Serge. It's awesome. I mean, it's been a long journey about talking to people about why we need safer roads. And it feels like, to Serge's point, the time is now.
All right. Awesome, Jake. And Serge, bring us home.
Thanks, Walter, for that opportunity. And what you had as a dream is just materialized as we speak. So they have many technology out there. It's a matter of just time of all of that being connected together. As we see in the market, we want the people to be more aware, the driver to be more aware of the environment. So using technology like we do, like Jake is doing, that provides that information back into the car. But the opposite is also also important from the worker safety perspective, because if something happened, if a car breached into the work zone, if the bulldozer is backing up on the worker, technology like Dave is doing is really important to improve safety. So all of us, we're working toward that safety goal to make roads safer and workers safer than what they are today. And I would say Michigan is probably the best place as well to test. And I can tell we have Michigan. That's the second trial they're doing on that kind of technology. We have more coming on. So they are really engaged, and they have also that goal to protect the workers using different methods. So I'll be pleased to connect people if they want to be engaged, and that's one of their mission and target.
All right, we're going to keep this going, and I have to, there's a group I'm a part of, the Roadway Safety Coalition. It's with the National Asphalt Paving Association, the Association of Road and Tunnel and Bridge Builders, state DOTs, and others. And we had when we first started talking about these separate ideas, we were just stuck on this idea of ways only because we just didn't know what the hell you guys were doing. And Haas did a presentation to us, and it was just the minute the presentation was over, the head of Napa says, "Let's go to Michigan and get this going." That was his first words was, "I got some guys in Michigan DOT to get this going." So, hey, it's coming up a lot here. So maybe that's where we begin. As I was leaning toward Northern Cal or something, but maybe that's where we go. And with that, I really appreciate you guys. And I hope that I could get you back on here as we move forward. And I am serious about setting up pilots wherever they may be, big or small. And I hope you guys keep me in mind, because if I can work with you, help you work with contractors. And then there's the other side. I'm a certified industrial hygienist, and we have invented this idea of roadway work zones. Before we began working on this area, workers weren't wearing anything on the roads. Now everybody looks really cool in these iridescent, retro-reflective vests. When I began, people were just out there in orange T-shirts. When we began, they just threw cones and barrels out there. Now they're engineered, designed based on the speed limit, wanted and anticipated. And to think we've gone that far. I remember when we were promoting this idea of rear view video. And I'm old enough to remember everybody thought of rear view video with these big camcorders that you put on his shoulder. And they could not understand how that would work on a pickup truck. And now it's standard practice. These are the changes that, in coalitions with folks like yourselves, many of us have been able to see. And I don't want it to stop now. I want it to continue. So thank you all for your time. And I appreciate it. And I'll be in touch with all of you. And with that, good night. All right. Thanks, guys.